I think we're live now. So, good morning and a warm welcome to this annual edition of the Citizen Science Conference on Biodiversity in India. This is the, wait, I'm sorry, I have to admit, I can't remember if it's the fourth or the fifth edition, but we've been having this annually, started during the COVID years. And the purpose was to take stock of this burgeoning field of citizen science for biodiversity in India, to get to meet the various people who are doing things in this field, including those who are practitioners of citizen science, those who are participants in citizen science, and some people who study citizen science as a phenomenon from the outside. Um, and so this was happening. Citizen science has been going on in India for many years, but we didn't have a platform to talk to each other. And so that's the purpose of this meeting when we started it, and continues to be the purpose. And thank you for joining us, and looking forward to a wonderful 2 days of events. I should say, sorry, my name is Suhail. I'm on the organizing committee of this conference. And as part of the short introduction to the conference, I also wanted to call upon some of the others who've been involved in making this happen. So I want to first call on Varsha, who is the coordinator for this conference. Varsha, do you want to say a few words?
Hi everyone, I hope you have a great time at the conference. If you have any issues, please text us on the Discord channel.
On the Discord channel. Yes. Thanks, Varsha. And so that reminds me, of course, that we're running this on Discord, which is our platform for various kinds of communication and discussion. Although some of the sessions will be streamed through YouTube, through Zoom and YouTube, but all the discussions happen on Discord. So hopefully things are going well on Discord. If you need any help, please say. Also helping Varsha with the coordination is Preeti. Preeti.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the conference. I've been helping with some of the back-end coordination, and I hope everyone has a great time and a productive time at the conference.
Thanks, Preeti. And at the back end as well, handling all the tech stuff that you don't see, for right since the beginning of the first edition of this conference, is Amit. Amit's a stalwart, a regular feature at the conference, although you may not see him, but he's there. Amit, over to you.
Hi everyone. Welcome to the conference.
Great. Thank you so much, Amit. And assisting Amit is Tamiran, who doesn't like to put his video on. So, Tamiran, do you want to say a couple of words? There we are. There's Tamiran. So we're all working remotely to bring this conference to you. And again, very quickly, I'm going to hand over to the other organizing committee members to say a couple of words of welcome. So next after me is Farida.
Hello, everyone. A very good morning to all of you. I hope you all are enjoying this beautiful, lovely winter. And I'm sure all your states or your cities are as cool as it is in Hyderabad. Maybe raining in Chennai or something. But very excited about this annual Citizen Science Conference. And it's a great opportunity to meet a lot of people who are doing wonderful citizen science work. And when we went through the different presentations and all, we are just excited to listen to all of you. And I hope that all of you also have a great time interacting on the Discord channel, write to each other, text to each other, and learn from each other. So I think this conference is all about that, learning about each other's work across the different landscapes of India. So thank you for joining, and I hope you all will be having a great 2-day session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Farida. Perhaps Pankaj?
Yeah, hi, good morning. This is Pankaj Seksaria. I've also been part of the OC from the beginning of the Citizen Science Conference. I have for a long time been a member of the environmental action group Kalpavriksh, where I work on a couple of issues for a very long time. And I currently also teach at a small center in IIT Bombay called the Center for Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas. And like Suhail mentioned in the beginning, I'm one of those guys who is not really a citizen scientist, but I'm very interested in citizen science. And so what does citizen science mean, and what do citizen scientists do when they say they are doing citizen science? So when a few years ago, I was at IIT Delhi, where with another colleague, we did a small project actually documenting at that point of time, if I may put it this way, the scenario of citizen science in ecology in India. We documented a bunch of projects. We spoke to project coordinators and people who were doing citizen science, and we publish a report on that. So that's my connection to citizen science. Hopefully, I also intend eventually at some point to start contributing to some of these platforms. So welcome everybody, and we really look forward to this edition of the conference. Thank you so much. Can I request Prabhakar to introduce himself?
Hi, my name is Prabhakar. I'm joining in from Chennai, from Madras. I've been a part of the OC right from the time we started. Welcome to the conference. We've been doing it online for the last many years. This is the 5th edition of the conference. And let's see if we can do something online and offline in person as well in the coming years. But online works well for us because there's a large reach of people from all over in different landscapes joining the conference and interacting. The essential aim of it is finally to build a good community of citizen scientists in the country in ecology and environment, a local group that can help and support each other. Thank you and welcome, a warm welcome to all of you at the conference. Thank you.
You can hand over to Shyam, maybe.
Shyam?
Yeah.
Shyam, can you go ahead?
Good morning, all of you. I'm Shyam Phartial, a faculty member at the Nalanda University, Rajgir in Bihar. I'm involved in this CITSI conference in a different capacity. Earlier, in first edition as an attendee, and then speaker, then panelist, and now the OC member first time this year. So it is a great journey for me, how the CITSI India shaped my understanding about the CITSI. And I also offer a citizen science course at Nalanda University and contribute a lot on the INET platforms and other citizen science platforms. So I'm a citizen science practitioner as well as a professional scientist. And my core expertise is in seed ecology of the wild plants. Welcome all of you. Pass to Shannon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shannon. I'm also part of the OG, old people that's helped start this conference. I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. We don't even know anymore how long it's been. But it's my favorite conference, and I say this every year, and it continues to be so because of all of you out there, all the conversations you have, all the questions you ask. I mean, I'm a scientist. I have been part of citizen science work, but from you and in the involvement of the participants over the past 4 years, I've gotten a deeper and richer understanding of what citizen science means to different people, how to do it with more equity, how to do it with more patience and compassion, and also with more scientific rigor. So I've learned all of that from this conference and continue to do so every year through the amazing speakers we have, all of you who present posters and talks, and also your comments. So I want to encourage you, even if you think you know nothing about citizen science and are just here just to check it out and find out what it is, ask questions. It's actually these questions that help not only you, but it helps all of us to understand better. And we have such rich conversations through this Discord platform. It seems very indirect. It seems like we're so far away, but actually I feel closer to people at this conference than I do with most in-person conferences because I can have really direct interactions with pretty much everybody, which at a big conference you can't usually do. So please do ask questions. We're all learning. We're all trying to figure out what this is together. So it's only through that interaction with you. And please feel free to converse in the language that's most comfortable for you. The other great thing about Discord is you can always translate things if you need it. So thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great time. Get involved, ask questions, listen to the talks, ask the speakers questions. And thank you so much for making this my favorite time of year, not just for Christmas, because it's science time. So I'm going to hand this over to Geeta now, who will also introduce our speaker.
Hi, everyone. A very good morning to you all. My name is Geeta. I'm an ecologist, and I head a citizen science program called Season Watch that monitors tree phenology across the country. I have been a participant in this conference for the past 4 or 5 years, which we are unable to decide right now. And it's always been a wonderful experience being here and interacting with everyone through Discord. And I especially love how Discord is alive for 2 weeks after the conference. So you can still go back and watch stuff and still comment on the posters and talks that you see there and keep interacting with speakers. And with that, we are at 10 o'clock, and I would like to introduce our first plenary speaker, Dr. V. Shubhalaxmi. She's an award-winning entomologist, educator, and entrepreneur, and a storyteller. And after working in the environment sector for more than 2 decades, she has founded the Ladybird Environmental Consulting, iNature Watch Foundation, and Birdwing Publisher entities. She developed environmental mobile apps and online courses, which are first of their kind. And through her company, she carries out rejuvenation and reforestation work to improve biodiversity. She's also a specialist in establishing butterfly and biodiversity parks. She's also won a whole bunch of accolades and awards from across the world. And we are absolutely delighted to welcome her and to present her plenary talk today on moth identification and citizen science. With that, I would like to welcome Dr. Shubhalaxmi to take the floor, please. A quick announcement. I'm sorry. Anyone who has questions for Dr. Shubhalaxmi, please type it into the Discord channel for today's plenary talk. And these questions will be taken by her at the end of the talk. Thank you. And over to you, Dr. Shubhalaxmi.
Thank you, Geeta. Good morning, all. It's indeed a pleasure to, I was listening to the introductions earlier, and nice to see so many familiar faces. And thank you for the honor for making me the key speaker. I was very excited when Geeta approached me, and because citizen science is such a close to my heart. I always, like, the day I learned about citizen science, and since that day, I've been talking about it to everyone with whom I interact. Even currently, when we are dealing with corporates also, we have started designing a citizen science program. So it is that close to me that I constantly speak about it. So, it's like a dream. Rather, I never had this dream that I'll be talking about it. But thank you so much for having me. So I probably get started with my presentation. So my presentation runs into 3 parts. I begin with my own work, like how I actually started working in this field of entomology, which is my passion. And then what kind of challenges I faced in bringing out my book, The Field Guide to Indian Moths. And eventually, citizen scientists who would be grappling these issues of identification and what kind of steps they can actually take. So I'll be basically covering my own experience, which is largely related to moths and insects, but it could be applicable. I want to say the approach is applicable for any taxa of any taxa which the citizen scientists are pursuing. Okay, so shall I share my screen now?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I have always considered identifying moths as a detective work. And that's the reason this title says the cracking the code of moth identification, because it is indeed a mystery. And believe me, it's a fun also, because it is mystery. And many people do ask me that what keeps me motivated to continue to do my work in moths. I said moths will never tire you, or rather they will never, like, you'll feel that I had enough of moths. It's never that day will come, because the mystery continues, and I don't know how many lives of how many individuals is required to decode this mystery. So therefore, the title of my presentation is Cracking the Code of Moth Identification. And then why such big challenges there? As most of you would be already aware that if you try to look out for information on Indian moths, you will not find many. So it's just that I always joke about this, that previous scientists or previous researchers left the difficult part to the geniuses. So all those who are pursuing lesser known taxa should consider themselves genius, because this opportunity was just meant or left for them. So moths being active during nighttime and butterflies being active during daytime. So it is there are many followers of butterflies because it's very easy, and somewhere butterflies timings and our lifestyle timing matches. But it doesn't match with the moths, and that's where they were left aside. That's one of the aspect why moths have been not studied, because studying moths is compromising your sleep. Second is a sheer diversity. I can see that moths almost outnumber butterflies 10 times. So if we have roughly 1,400 butterflies in our country, I'm assuming there are nearly 14 to 15,000 moths there in our country. But nobody has documented that, and that's where we need more citizen science work. I always put this part to all citizen scientists that try to get into a field where there is a data gap. That's where we need more help. So moths is one field. If citizen scientists who are interested, they can look up. This is a field where you will come up new records, new species, all kind of taxonomical accolades which you have to win. This is the field. Unfortunately, I'm not from taxonomy background. I'm basically an ecologist. I love to work in the field, and taxonomy is something which I have not pursued. But identification finally comes down to taxonomy also. So we will touch upon that. So the taxonomical studies which have happened in our country, that has been going on very well, and the problem was only that the information was limited to the papers. It was not out in the public domain, and that's the reason not many takers came forward to study moths. So this is one of the challenge which moths still have, though now today there are resources out there, like my book is there and many other books have also come out. Plus there are Moths of India website is there that is also documenting good amount of moths. So today there are many, even Facebook groups are there. Today the information is there. Still we really need more and more work in this field, and many of them people send me moths and they feel that I should identify them immediately. I tell them that if this moth is there in my book, I can certainly identify it for you. But if it is something different, I can't identify, because it will take at least half a day of mine to identify that. So many a time, actually, I'm unable to identify things because I do have 1,000 photos of moths with me, which I or any other expert with whom I'm collaborating are able to identify. When we say identification, we're talking about bringing it to the species level, not at the family level or the genus level. So species level. So it is absolutely okay that to have some number of photos unidentified if you are pursuing lesser known taxa. This is something citizen scientists should be accepting, and I think I'm going to highlight this part later on. So this is a challenge, and therefore it is more of a detective work. I will give you some examples also why it is a detective work. But before that, let me tell you about my book. This is a field guide of moths, which I brought out after really researching it for 15 years. Why 15 years? Because I didn't want to write a book with only names and distribution ranges. It will be like a checklist. I really wanted to write a book with ecological data also. And so the ecological data was missing. And that is what my research went into. I started collecting the ecological data myself and feeding that data into my book. And that's the reason it really took a long time. And yet I haven't really covered all moths of India. I have been telling this to everyone that it's impossible if anybody says that they can cover all moths in India. So I've been very open about it. I just managed to, my target was to bring out 1,500 species. And what I got completely properly identified was close to 800, you can say. And this I'm saying I'm not doing alone myself. I've been collaborating with international experts with whom the identification has been confirmed. Like I have paid a very high price just to get a species confirmed, not even identified. So that actually translated into a pricey book, but it is a tough work which went into it. And I'm happy that my second edition of the book has also come out. So this is at least one resource which is there, which the citizen scientists can very well use it in the field. But yet there will be some or more information or more species which are not covered here. But at least it will be helpful for them to know that which family the moth belong to or which genus the moth belong to. At least the journey starts from there. So my journey with moths actually started in a very interesting way. I would like to acknowledge all the people who made me, like today, if I'm pursuing moths or if I'm so passionate about, there are people who made me to follow a path and fall in love with moths. And the credit goes to my late guide, who was the curator of BNHS, Naresh Chaturvedi. And my first contact was Isaac Kemkar when I had been in BNHS. So anybody who meets Isaac Kemkar will immediately go for butterflies. So was I. I was also interested in butterflies, and I wanted to do my master's. Even now, I think BNHS is affiliated to Mumbai University, and one can do their master's by research. It really worked very well for me because I was working for BNHS, and so on the weekends I used to do the moth study. So he was my guide, and when I went to him that, I want to do my MSc in butterflies, and he said that, Shubha, don't follow butterflies. There are many who are already researching butterflies, and there is nothing new left for butterflies. And I can resonate his thoughts today, because I feel that in any taxonomy where renaming happens, renaming of species name, renaming of the classification, it means that it is reaching to a saturation because there's so much of work has gone into it. Moths haven't reached that state at all. I always say moths are in kindergarten, and butterflies have just finished the graduation. So that is the gap in. So he told me that don't pursue, you pursue moths. And that point of time, I had no idea about moths because I was just an amateur student. So, but I'm glad that I belong to a generation who don't question their teachers. I guess today, if you tell a student do this, they will certainly ask a justification why you're saying so. So I didn't question him, and he said, you pursue this? I said, okay, fine. And that's how I started. So I started my MSc by studying hawk moths and emperor moths of Sanjay Gandhi National Park. And then it continued, and I finished my PhD also on the same. And ideally, I should have stopped there because many people do their PhD and then they stop because the degree has been achieved. But something else was happening while I was working with BNHS. So there was this identity that I was receiving from people. I got nicknamed as Moth Lady, and since my guide was also an entomologist, so we decided to start an entomology course. So we were the first, like in 2000, we started the first correspondence course on entomology. So I got these two titles of Bug Lady and Moth Lady. So every now and then people used to just bring a moth photo and give to me and say, Shubha, what is this? And I was so much focused on hawk moths and emperor moths that I really didn't look at any other family, because that's a strict instruction my guide gave. He said, Shubha, don't get into any other moths, then you won't be able to finish your PhD. And he was very much right. Because of that focus, I was able to complete the entire ecological studies on the hawk moths and emperor moths of Sanjay Gandhi National Park. But after my PhD, when I realized that I should expand my horizon, and I should really start studying other moths. And that's where I started documenting moths in general. And I realized that it was a mammoth task, and all by myself, I can't really do that. I need support. And that time, three of course participants who were doing the entomology course, who were very much interested in entomology, basically they were housewives who was very much interested, and they were constantly with me, very eager to learn. And I gave an offer that whether you'll be willing to volunteer with me for my moth expeditions. And these ladies willingly agreed, and I told that you have to bear your own expenses because I don't have any funds with me, and I'll be able to meet only lodging, boarding, like just travel cost. Rest we have to share. So they were very much so much interested that they said that okay, fine, we are ready. So these ladies literally worked with me one full year with thorough field expeditions, and then thereafter another 2 years with identification and everything. So I only promise them one, that if I bring out a paper, you will be my co-authors. And then after 4 years of our research, we published a joint paper on moths of Northern Western Ghats, where all my volunteers, I call them the first citizen scientists who joined me. They are as authors. So that was my starting with citizen science with these ladies. And today, one of them, that Alka Vaidya, is pursuing actually moths. She continues to pursue moths. She continues to document moths. And one more lady, Alka Vaidya, she went on to do her PhD later on in butterfly gardening. So, like somewhere this actually opened up many opportunities for everyone. And this was a crucial research that helped me in formulating my book, because we started looking at the ecological data. So This is the ecological symbols that I had used in my book, which talks about the habitat where the moths were seen, whether the moths are day flying, night flying, whether whether they are having mouth parts or not. Because my assumption is that nearly 60 to 70% moths don't feed at all. They're non-feeding moths. Then whether the not all moths come to the light. So we did that kind of studies. So all these kind of parameters were documented through that research, and the same data went into my book. So so every species description in my book, these symbols are mentioned there. And mothing is actually very exciting. And when I started mothing, I believe probably I was the first women researcher doing this, because most of the men were actually working. And let me tell you, the taxonomical works were happening very well. Many scientists were doing the taxonomical work, again, largely male dominated, but it's only the ecology part was lacking. So we really wanted more and more people in ecology. Today also I tell more people to try to get into more of the ecological aspects, then taxonomy, because taxonomy study is not lagging behind. Taxonomical studies are happening. Only thing, we are not able to connect with the common citizen, or we are not able to bring the science to the public domain. That's what the ecological, because ecological facts are very fascinating. When I do this mothing activity, so when I was in BNHS, every camp had a mothing light sheet. And since then, the mothing activity becomes such a popular activity in people, because people saw the swarming of moths coming to the light, and that charm attracts people. So we need to do this such kind of, what you say, I would say glamorizing of a subject which is not very attractive, to get people's attention. So for a woman to do moth studies is having its own challenges, because we are supposed to move in the night time, you have to go to remote areas, and plus we have this nightmare of logistics. We always carry the generator, the light, and then sometimes the bulb breaks, or the light, the generator is not working. So lots of challenges also there. So it is very, I would say, overwhelming process, mothing. But once you get over that, or once you get the kick of, or get addicted to the mothing exercise, then all things, this doesn't matter. And then yes, moths can overwhelm us to this extent. This was my mothing expedition that I did in Bhutan, where I couldn't go to the light sheet without putting a mosquito net on myself, because the moths were entering everywhere. It was becoming very difficult. And within few hours, the entire carpet below was also, the grass was covered with moths. And then I decided I have to switch it off, because I can't really trample on this grass to take photographs. So what I was doing in mothing exercise was only photographing the moths, no collection. During my master's and PhD time, I did do collection, but eventually I realized that collections are already there. Even BNHS has collections, and many institutes which are actually studying the taxonomical, who are doing taxonomical researchers, they are also collecting, and they are also having specimens. So specimens are very much there. It's not that they're not there. So I decided not to collect any specimens, and try to take as many photos of a moth from different angles as much possible, which can help in identification. Yes, this is how the light sheet would look like. This is basically in Northeast. Anywhere you go in the Northeast, if you put up a light sheet, this is what you get to see in a mothing season, of course. And the biggest challenge is, okay, the fieldwork is fun. Fieldwork is not only adventurous, but it is fun, and it is very exciting. It is adrenaline rush. But when you come back to the desk, when you start identifying more, that is where the frustration sets in. That's where you feel very lonely. That's where you feel, oh, how do I overcome this? And that's the reason it's not a single person's job. That's where collaborations are needed. That is where you need to tie up with people, or you need to connect with people who are already doing research, and try to learn from their experience or share. So lots of data exchange needs to happen before we come to which species is this. I'm talking about species which are not very well documented. Some of the species are like, the species that are affecting agriculture, they are well documented, and their identification you can get very easily. But the species which is not really feeding on any fruit, or not really making an impact to our economy, it is not known then. So those are the species where the real challenge lies. So you can see I've taken a photo of this moth, which was sitting, this one, which was sitting on a glass. And I took the picture so that I can see the under wing color also. So one of the challenge of moths identification morphologically, okay. Morphological, in today's time, morphological is not considered as a best method of identification. But for known species or species which are widely documented, you can very well. So my book is completely like all my photos in my book are all, live photos. They're not specimen photos. I had decided this, that I will not use any specimen photo, because somewhere in the specimen photo, you can see the all aspects of the moth, but you really don't know how the moth is actually resting in the field. Whether the wings are overlapping, the wings are curled up, because moths, I call moths very fashionable Lepidoptera. Why? Because they'll not keep the wings in the same position all the time, or all species don't do that. So why the challenge in identification of moths? One is that what is a forewing top color? Upper, the forewings upper side color is what? That color combination. Then undersides upper side color, what is that color? Like you can see this. So this is a cryptic color. Then inside this is orangish and black coloration of the hind wings. And if you turn this moth reverse side, the patterns might be different. Now this is another moth. Here you can see the dorsal side of the wings are completely drab. But underside colors of the forewing as well as the hind wings are having patterns. So even these colors are required. Now, how do you get that kind of photo without collecting a specimen? That's the challenge. So that's why the specimen collection is important in moths, so that you get the underside colors also, which are useful for morphological identifications. So this is my journey of identifying moths, and I just wish that our citizen scientists need not go this treacherous journey of identifying moths. Okay, so one of the good things that Britishers did to India is that they documented our flora and fauna thoroughly, whatever. So I consider these books, which are there in most of the libraries, even BHS library, it is available online also, because now it is more than 100 years old publication. So it's online also, it is available for a download. It is called Fauna of British India and Neighboring Countries. So there are altogether 5 volumes that has been written on Indian moths. And believe me, I still consider this as a Bible on Indian moths. There is no match to this book in our country. And for us to reach to this stage, for us to bring out such kind of volumes which documents entire moth diversity, I don't know how much time, and as I said, how many lives are required, we don't know. But this is how. So I started with this. So when you open Fauna of British India as a novice, it is all Greek and Latin, literally. You don't really understand much. It takes time to understand the style of writing, what does that mean, and there were no color photos, or rather there were no photos of all species. Only some remarkable species line drawings were there, and rest is all guesswork. So I had to literally read this kind of description. You can see the description: head, thorax, abdomen, brown, collar is some color, then pale yellow, all this kind of minute, because the detailing was minute, in fact. That was thorough. So we had to really visualize a species that this could be the one. Now, the second challenge was that all these names, all the taxonomy is outdated. Because moths I consider moth studies is a volatile field. It is like I link moth studies with IT sector, technology. That the way technology changes almost like 2 to 3 years. So your previous technology becomes redundant. Your previous version of Windows, of your phone, everything software becomes redundant, and the new version comes out. Same is with moths. Every now and then the taxonomical changes happen. So my second edition, which I brought out after a gap of 5 years, there is already taxonomical changes that happened, and that really played a havoc with my entire sequencing of my books. I had to change some names. I have to change the family positions, everything, more like nearly, I think 5 to 10 species were actually changed. So I had to do those changes, and that's where I brought out the second edition. So this text, you can't follow the taxonomy which is mentioned, or even the names which is mentioned in this book, but you can always do a guesswork. Say, for example, it is Saturnia thibeta. So mostly species names don't change. So your best guess is that let me put on Google thibeta and see if I can find something. If you're lucky, you may find, and then there'll be the actual name and everything matches. So that's how one goes on. So this is how I studied this publication. Then there is a foreign publications also which are very closely linked to Indian fauna. That is Thailand is there, Malaysia is there, then Japan. So they do have Nepal. They do have very good documentation, but they're very expensive. Like I have spent nearly 18,000 to buy these 6 volumes of Moths of Thailand. They're very expensive. They're old also. The taxonomy also outdated. But here, identification becomes much easier. You can see the photos. There are more colorful photos. Plates are there, so it becomes very easy. So this was one publication. Then Moths of Borneo is an online version. Nearly 18 volumes are already there. But this all Borneo related only. So one can help, it can be helpful in getting closer to the family of a moth, getting closer to the generic position of the moth, not beyond that. Like the species might be different. So there's geographical differences are very important when we are actually collecting data. A moth which is looking very similar in Borneo and in India may not be the same one. So one should always question the geographical differences, the habitat change differences. So if it is of a different habitat and different location, one should really be doubtful before saying that, oh, I think it is this species. So distribution plays a main role of identifying, like confirming the identification. Like you may think, wow, this moth is found in Borneo and it is found in Mumbai. It's a new record for India. It's very easy to get, excited with that fact, but these are the checks and balances that one needs to do, is to check the distribution thoroughly. Is it distributed? And it's not that always, and if you dig further more, you might find that the moth that you were actually looking at, somebody has already documented or somebody has photographed some other location. So more research is needed when you feel that you found a match of a moth which is found in Borneo and found in Maharashtra. Do more research before you declare that it is something new record for India. So this was one series I'm using. It's online available. Another expensive publication, Moths of Nepal. I was wondering that if Nepal could have such kind of book, why India didn't have them. I was wondering because I think moths are somehow completely off the radar of all the wildlife research or wildlife conservation that took place in the free India. Moths were not at all anywhere to bring out such kind of publication, which is like it was brought in. It was not brought by, of course, Indian. This was done by a Japanese company who actually brought out this book, who did the documentation. So wonderful book. This is also an expensive book, not easily available. And these are I call the Mothman of the world, because these are the people with whom I have been collaborating to do my research work. My first contact was, of course, Dr. Roger Kendrick, who is from Hong Kong. He's very much available on all the Facebook groups or the mothing groups which are there in India today. He's been my collaborator for bringing out my book. And then I contact from Natural History Museum, Dr. Ian Kitching, then Dr. J.D. Holloway, who wrote the Moths of Borneo series, and then Dr. Shen Hon Wen from Taiwan. He was when we approached him when we found a new moth from Arunachal Pradesh, and we wanted to check whether it is something known or it is a new moth. So we need to collaborate, and it's the good sign about these gentlemen is that they are so responsive and they are so prompt in responding to you. Right? Unlike I'm sorry to say, but in India, if I write to somebody asking something, I don't usually get helps that easily as we get help from foreigners. So this is something which we probably need to learn, that if we have the knowledge, let's be that responsive and prompt to help with someone who is not having that kind of knowledge. And citizen scientists will need this kind of support from experts. So these are the experts, and I'm sure there will be such international experts for other taxa also. So I would urge the citizen scientists, whichever taxa you're pursuing, try to look up who are the international authorities on this, and don't get don't hesitate in approaching them. Because of the social media, everyone is so easily approachable today. So it's okay, you can go and find them on Instagram or on Facebook, or they may be having a website. Just drop an email, just write to them, and you will hear from them. I feel so because I have been lucky that way. So I really want to acknowledge their support for the work, what at least for me. And now they're not only like all these gentlemen might be interact with many other Indian researchers for who are doing the moths. So as I said, that moth identification, what kind of parameters we normally look for? So when it is in morphological, that is the external characters are there, that is where we start looking at the size of it, how the moth is resting, what is the shape of the moth overall. Then naturally, when it is settling down, what are the color patterns? I mentioned that earlier. Then even the legs, how are the legs? Legs are shorter, stumpier, longer, hairy, spiky. I told you, moths are very fashionable. Yes. So they have this, their wardrobe is filled with so much varieties. Not single type of antennae does with them. There's a variety of antennae which moths have. Palpi is a part of a mouth part which is just in front of the head. Sometimes this palpi is so prominent that it will come out of the head. Sometimes it is just like there are very, very variations in the palpi. So even those are important for identification purpose. And lastly, if we can capture all this when you're taking a photograph of moth. So naturalistic photography is nothing about aesthetics, according to me. When you look, because we are now so much of using photos on social media, so we want to take anything that perfect photo. No, not for natural history at least. When you're taking a photo, I'm referring to a subject like insects, for example. When you're taking the photo, try to take the dorsal view, lateral view, side view, underside view by chance if you can get something. Try to focus on the head part, try to focus on the leg part, the wing part. All this kind of photos if you take, then it probably becomes very easy for an expert who is remotely placed from the photos to say, okay, this could be this species. So remember this. So just one photo, don't take one photo. Take different photos, and not necessarily you take an entire photo of that species. As I said, take one sections photo, giving more close-up, more details to it. So that is where it becomes helpful. And try to take such photos and upload such kind of photos on citizen science portals, not just one photo that other person will keep on guessing that what this could be. Yeah, so that's it. But as I mentioned, that morphological identifications is still not considered 100% correct. So whenever there is a doubt in a species where we know that, like scientists, that in my book, there are many species which have been not identified to the species level. Why? Because it has been known that there are morphological changes in the same species. So that is the problem, that you can't confirm the identification. So that's where the internal characters are important. What are the internal characters? Is mostly the reproductive organs, which is called the genitalia dissections. Because if a species may be similar looking, if their genitalia structures don't match, which means that it confirms that it is a different species. But if they're differently looking species and the genitalia structures matches, then it is the same species. So that's why the genitalia dissection, it's a lab procedure. I did try to learn it, but I realized I can't do that. So it's best that people, the taxonomists are doing, they can do a better job. We can always take their help. So therefore, if you are studying ecology, you team up with a taxonomist. And this kind of teaming will be helpful for the moths, where you get the entire information. And that is where the specimen collection is required, specimen is needed. And wherever specimen collection is needed, you need proper permissions. And as far as I know now, because of the new Wildlife Protection Act, I think specimen collection is completely discouraged now. We don't really get permissions. For insects also, you don't get permission for collecting them. But still, I'm saying that we need to have permissions if we have to collect a specimen. And for in a very deserving case, I believe the department can certainly provide such. So always keep the forest department informed if you are doing the study, so that, because we know that there have been instances where researchers have done whole sorts of collection without permission, and then the forest department raided their laboratory and entire thing was confiscated. This has happened. So when I was doing my studies, I did take a permission, but that is way back. I'm talking about somewhere in 1997 or 2000. At that point of time, probably the permissions were easier, but now permissions are very difficult. So we have to try the best to see that how much of through photograph we can do, and try and go and check the collections of the institutions who are holding the collections. Comparing the notes over there, that will be helpful. And an expert opinion on that will be always helpful. So this is when it comes to internal characters, slightly it goes out of the domain of the citizen science because it needs expertise. That's where you need to bring in an expert. As I said, a collaboration or teaming up with another organization who is having such facilities. So this is a changes which I did in my book, that in my first edition, this was identified as one species, as Asota cariaca, but actually it was Asota producta, I thought, but it turned out cariaca, and that to male it was. So, and it was not something that it was a mistake, that it happened that, because there's so much of information, because research work is so expanding and it is different journals and it's all scattered. It is not collated somewhere at one place. So somewhere it may happen that we miss out on something. And here, as I said, that I was not alone. As I said, I had collaborators. We all missed out on this kind of information. So we have to really accept that fact that we are not perfect and we can't be 100% right. And I tell this to everyone. I said, I'm not an expert. I won't consider myself an expert because I know how much more study needs to happen. So I replace this with this one. So you can see how similar they look. They look almost very similar, except some color variation. So I did this kind of corrections in my book. Now here you can see I was talking about similar looking species. Similar looking species are like they all look, so not similarly, they look different, but they are the same species. And it's not male, female. It's the same species, just having different coloration. So having the knowledge of a species that such kind of variations are there. Like, today morning only I was seeing this purple sunbird. So it is the eclipse form where it is not completely purple. There are white patches under the belly. So that is an eclipse form of the purple sunbird. Though I'm more into entomology, but I still know that there is this eclipse form in these birds where they don't look completely what the adult forms are. So an amateur would think, oh, it is different purple sunbird. No, it is a purple sunbird. It has this variation. So having this knowledge is very important for citizen scientists, that how much variations are actually seen in a particular species. So the more you do research, the more you study or refer books or publications or see others' work, you will come across this kind of information. So we had actually, you can see here, this is a similar looking species. We almost actually we did have the species name, but we had to put a note below saying that this is a very, it is not, still the identification can't be considered as confirmed because of limitation of morphological identification. So in many places in my book, I had to put this small footnote telling people that, yes, this is, but it can change also if more studies have been done it or more specimens are found about the species. So what are the taxonomical terms that we use when we are not really sure of the identification of the species? Like here you can see this one which I have highlighted here. It is called Acrotonus species close to Lactea. So Lactea is a species name. This one. So I just couldn't write Acrotonus Lactea because it's not very clear. It's not very sure that it could be same one, but it is very much close to the species. Therefore, this sp.cf is used. It means that it is close to Lactea species. So any other researcher, if they come across this and they happen to do the dissection and this match the morphological features with the internal characters also, and they can confirm, yes, it is this species only, then this sp.cf can be removed. So this I have mentioned in my book. I'll give one more example. So once it was close. Now it is not very close, but it is near. It may be of the same genus, but it's not very close to the species, like this one. So it is written that Viridistria species dot NR, that is species near to Stratiovarians. This is a species which is close to. So this gives a clue to other researchers or other recorders who might see this and verification. So wherever the doubtful was there, so these terms have been used, and this is absolutely normal to be used in moths. At least in moth papers, you will come across such kind of terminologies. There's one more terminology which is like indent. It means that it is not only, we are not sure whether it belongs to the same genus also. That kind of variation could be there. So we are not sure. Yes, it looks very much like trabella because trabella has this morphological look, but we are not very sure if it is a trabella. It has to be determined. So therefore, this indeterminate, there is I-N-D-E-T term is been used. So why am I highlighting these things? That, I'm saying that even experts use this kind of terms, and it is okay to write about it because it is best not to give a wrong identification, because taxonomy is also grappling with wrong identification. Recently, I happened to speak one of the UK moth researcher, Paul Waring. He told that, Kishubai, in my lifetime, I have seen one species being placed in 6 different genus. Why? Because somewhere, of course, there could be more researchers needed, but some of the major blunders have happened where wrong identifications were done, and wrong identifications published. So anything that is published is considered as this, oh, it is perfect. So that's how this wrong information keeps on going further and further. So we have to stop there and use this kind of terminologies. And I'm just giving one example that how I actually went to identifying this moth, which at least took me 3 days to identify this moth, which actually turned out to be Terpena crossina, because from various books, the various names actually started coming up, and I started using various forums to identify. I went by the species name. Species name was the commonest one. That's what I did, and then that's how I came across. So this is a journey of identifying moth. I wish I had more time to really explain you what process I went through, but I just want to highlight that these challenges are there. And this is a very interesting topic of like how a new discovery was done because of a school teacher who found a moth photo in 2011, thought it is a butterfly, and then it came to Isaac Kamkar. He confirmed it's not a butterfly. It came to me. I said, yes, it looks like a moth, but we don't know which moth. And that's where this collaboration, I told you, Dr. Roger Kentic was there, Taiwan and Lepidopter. He confirmed it to be a new moth. I went and I tried to look for it. I didn't find it. But 4-5 years later, other people went, they found the moth, and then it was described. Now, it is a power of citizen science. Had not that teacher had photographed the photo and put it on the forum, this species would have not seen the daylight. So I think I'm already like these are the reasons that why misidentifications usually happen, of which the citizen scientist should be aware that to know that in a particular taxa, what kind of differences are there morphologically, and be aware of synonyms. Synonyms are the older names. So ensure that you don't use the old names. Try to use the current names. And today on the I'll show you which platforms. All the leading platforms, online platforms, give all this synonym names also. So some of the references might give you that synonym names. Always go and check what is the current name. Okay, these are some of the examples which I wanted to discuss, but I think I'm running short on time. So I'll just skip it. That I'm just telling that these were the misidentifications that had happened in the past and how they were actually corrected later on. This is when Darwin's hawk moth was given a different name because the caterpillar was having different name and the moth was having different name. Bumblebee was also, there was a mistake in identifying it. Herculean beetle. I'm sorry, I'll have to skip this part because that's a problem when I start talking about moths. I lose track on time. I don't want to take on others' time. So I'll just skip that. I believe this presentation will be available for you people. I'll just skip these examples. These examples are all mistaken identity. Even in butterflies, it has happened. And so what is the answer for solving all this misidentification is, of course, the current the data, the barcoding, which is happening today, DNA barcoding, it's expensive also, but that is a taxonomical studies are the answers of giving the right identification. And this is a platform, Global Biodiversity Information. If you go to this platform, that's where you get all the information of the synonyms and the correct names. Even in some places they put photos also. You can also contribute photos, because in some species they don't have photos. So if you have this photo of that particular species, you can contribute. So I'm going, and also in Zoological Survey of India is there, but of course Zoological Survey doesn't maintain data online for accessible for people, but they are doing studies. They do studies, and they are the ones who probably say, okay, this was a wrong classification or wrong data, and corrections have been done by research organizations and researchers who later on publish papers. So studying papers is also a good thing. If you have graduated as citizen scientist, you graduated from basic to medium and to the advanced level, that's where you can start reading the research papers also, where you get all the current information, current and what you say, yes, correct information, current and correct information. So we have to have this intervention, but that is where, as I said, the citizen science limit, it goes a bit of beyond citizen science limit, because it needs resources, it needs expertise, which I'm sure not everyone has access to. We have to be really dependent on organizations. So at least we bring out research to that level where it can be taken up by the organizations that they are doing the phylogenetic studies, the barcoding studies. So giving in data to them, and then they process it further, is something we can actually we bridge the gap. So when it comes to citizen science, one of the biggest challenge which everyone has is that we can't really completely rely on citizen science data, because I remember there was a biostatistician who was working in BNHS, and he was the bird count studies which used to happen in BNHS, and they were having like many years data. And the bird count was done by common people, like members, BNHS members. So he used to joke about that. When I'm analyzing the data, a same species which is of same species is growing from 16 centimeter to 40 centimeter. How is that possible? Because the data fed by this different people, data entry was done. So the quality of data of citizen science need to be also improved. You are citizen scientist, and you are excited, you are passionate, but you should always be very true to the data, and there is no approximation in data. You can't say, I think so, it could be this one, so let me feed this one. No. If you're not sure, just say no. And whatever data you have, only feed that data which you're confident 100%. That will only improve the research, because whatever data which gets uploaded on the platforms, you know that there are experts who later on do the due diligence of the data, and then that species is confirmed. So if we can reduce the time of due diligence, that will be the real success for citizen science. So that's something, try to reduce as much errors and follow the protocol. For every study, there is a protocol. Get yourself updated with the protocols. If you don't understand, get hold of a senior researcher or a senior person who can explain you. Understand the procedure of collection data, follow the same methodology, and upload the data accordingly. That is a very big service citizen scientists can do for science. And it'll take, so many researchers will benefit from their inputs. So these are some do's and don'ts which I just created for citizen scientists. I already mentioned about the guidelines, the tools. And as I said, be sure, before you say this is so-and-so species, try to confirm with experts. Is it so? Of course, in naturalist on the naturalist portal or India Biodiversity portal, there are experts who actually verify that whether it is, till that time the name is not coming. So don't go on social media to find an ID. Because in social media, the problem is that there's so many comments below, you can't make out which is the right comment. So if you, okay, fine, social media is good to give you a direction. Okay, it could be this family, this genus, but later on, go to the serious websites which will give you more authentic information. So these are the don'ts which I've already mentioned earlier. Only thing, duplication of submission. So same data should be not duplicated, but portals like which are doing the geotagging, they can very well pick up all the date, time, and everything. So I think that avoids the problem. But where it is not, try to ensure that you be very genuine, provide genuine data. In short, that is what I want to say. And last one, which is very important, which even other portals ask you to exercise that precaution, that you don't share sensitive information, which will give clue to the people who are doing poaching, wildlife poaching, or collectors. They get to know which species is found where. So not to give that. So be very broad and generic when you know that this species. So having a knowledge about the species is very important, in short. And as I said, it's okay to say no if you don't know. I do that often, and people sometimes feel, oh, you don't know. I said, yes, I don't know. I never claim that I know everything. So it's absolutely okay. If you're not very sure about an identity, just leave it unidentified. Even in your records, you say it is unidentified. There's no shame in accepting that I am having so many unidentified, because that means that there is a scope of learning. There is a scope of moving forward. The moment you put a name to a species, it's gone. It's gone from your radar, because you feel, oh, I've done a job. But as long as that is tickling there, like this is unidentified, it's just, it will be always on your mind, and you'll always find a way of getting the name for that particular species. This is a small of my experience, which I have done, is that I feel that we all should be citizen scientists, should be not like Arjun, because Arjun could only see the eye of the parrot, and he couldn't see the tree, the flower, and everything. So we are talking about ecology over here. So as a citizen scientist, try to look for ecological information also of a particular species, or of a particular taxa of your interest. So if you're a birder, you should know what the bird is feeding on, whether it is feeding on insects, whether it is feeding on fruits. And if it is feeding on fruits, which fruits it is preferring, which plants it is preferring. So if a parakeet is sitting on a particular tree, the tree is also important. So gives equal importance. So having the ecological information, we may fast track science so many decades ahead, I would say. Why? Because this is a data deficiency is occurring, and identify which taxa is having data deficiency. This is a message for all citizen scientists. Identify which, I'm saying lesser known taxa is where citizen science is more needed. And if you have a passion for it, go for it. Otherwise, you can pursue whatever field taxa you're interested, but try to collect ecological data as much, because that is still in demand. Taxonomy is like, once a species has been identified, place, and fine, everything is done then. Full stop. But ecological data is what changes, can change the game later on. So having the geographical information, feeding habits, life history information, everything, plant animal associations, this is all information is needed. So try to collect that data so that it becomes a holistic data, and you will also become a holistic citizen scientist, not just specific on one particular species. So with that, I leave you. Yes, if you want to contact me or write to me, these are the, I'm just sharing because it is related to my moth book. So if anything about the moths you want to write to me, on our website also, Birdwing Publishers, we are having resources, data sheets uploaded on our website. So anybody who wants to do research on moths, they can actually download the protocol also from there. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shubha. That was amazing, and really, really enjoyed your journey of your grapples with learning about moth taxonomy and what it really means for citizen science data in the end. Thank you also for the very useful pointers for our citizen scientists who are, dealing with moth taxonomy. You should see your Discord channel. There's lots and lots of chatter happening over there.
Okay.
Lots of people weighing in with their compliments and their questions. I'll just take a couple of them here so that you can answer for everyone.
Sure.
So there are two questions on the same theme, basically. Amir and Prabhakar are asking, what is your opinion about using AI to identify moth species, and whether that's something that's being used, and whether that's going to be useful for citizen science?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of AI, actually. Yes. See, I feel that when there is technology, why not use them? There's no harm in using it, okay? It's nothing. Yes, people say that like people don't want to use ChatGPT because my skills. What is use of my skills? Yes, but when is it technology? You can do more things. So AI, yes, now like Google Photos does that. You put up a photo and Google Photos does identify it. I would say AI is still good, and as the small footnote which comes under every AI software that is not completely correct, so we go by that. At least, as I said, it will give you a path. AI may identify the species, it may give you a species, but you take it by a pinch of salt, go back to the genus level, go back to the subfamily level, go back to the family level, and do your own due diligence also. Once you do that due diligence, the way we do it with ChatGPT throws out so much content at us. Later on, we do the filtering. That is what is needed in identification also. And after doing that, also just run around, like run that photo with some experts, or put it on social media, or put it on an iNaturalist and see if that confirmation is correct. And in iNaturalist, you try to put the name and see whether somebody's striking it or not, whether it's just saying agree. So that's the way we have to go. AI, we use AI just the way we are using it for any other field in our life.
Sorry, quick follow-up on that. So do you think there's enough information for AI to learn the accurate identification?
Yes. No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, because I
So we
tell
need
you,
more.
I said you can't use Google for species identification by putting the Latin name, because the reason is that there's not enough data. As I said that, like the data, to bring that data to online, to the public domain, we really need people to work in that sphere, which is not happening. Like I get journalists who ask me, Shubha, which is an endangered moth? I say, what are you talking about endangered? Like, mera moth to kindergarten mein. We're in kindergarten. You're asking me a PhD question, which is an endangered moth? Not possible. Okay. So yes, not enough data is there. So, but for common species, one can be happy. Let's go.
Right.
What is commonly found, commonly documented. Let's start with that. Be happy that, oh, ye to ho gaya. This has happened. Then we move to the difficult species. Yeah.
Right. Thanks. Gaurav has another interesting approach to study moths. He says that in agricultural fields, light traps and pheromone traps are becoming increasingly popular to control pests. Is there a possibility to extract meaningful data on moths trapped there and their ecology?
Yes. So light traps are a method. It is in fact a destructive method, because we disrupt the moth's routine. When I say light sheet is not killing moths. It is just bringing the moths to a screen. So therefore it is called light sheet. But light trap is killing the moth, which is like a wholesale massacre. So I'm not for wholesale massacre, but of course in agriculture field, you can't really debate on that part, because humans are more important than pests. So wholesale massacre is something like is not advisable, but mostly many entomologists have seen who don't want to spend night observing moths. They want to sleep. So they just put up a light trap, and in the morning they just go and sort what they want, and rest of them they throw it out. So which is, therefore I say it is a massacre, large scale massacre. So I would not, but in the agriculture field, yes, one can document whatever data they're getting. They can document it, make a checklist, make the distribution maps, and yes, and feed it to the citizen science portals that these species are found. So yes, many interesting information from one location. Actually, if you try to see insect studies, because of the light attraction, is easier also. You're sitting at one place and they are coming to you. Unlike other species where you have to chase them. But only difficulty part is that identification and being awake in the night, yes. So yes, the answer is yes, a good amount of data can be extracted from these light traps.
Thank you. Thanks for that answer. Another question from Dr. Ramiz Ahmed is, what is your take on species misidentification and new species syndrome, and what role can citizen science play in overcoming this issue? I guess they're asking whether citizen science can help in preventing misidentifications.
So that's what I mentioned earlier, that the data which citizen scientists are uploading today on the portals, if they can verify at their end, the due diligence which experts are doing later on when the citizen science data is uploaded, if they do that beforehand, then it'll. So one is that be sure of the species. If you want to be very sure, then you just don't go by, like, if I give a name, say somebody writes to me and they tell me which moth is this, I will give them name. Let them go and find out more information about that species. So a bit of due diligence from their part will be also helpful. But more misidentifications are happening because of incorrect data is getting publicized or published. So that's where we have to stop, because researcher comes with a so the responsibility comes on a citizen scientist also, that they are responsible for the genuineness of the data. When I did my PhD, you know what my referee told when I went for that he said that Shubha, whatever you've written in this thesis, nobody can challenge. Even I can't challenge you, because nobody knows about it. But whatever you have written, we have to consider it is right. So that kind of responsibility comes on us, that I'm putting up information out there, it's 100% correct. So that, I think, that honesty and that integrity is important. So that is one part. New species, I already said that. If they know which taxa they are studying, and if they study more and they come to know that this is a data deficiency area, that is like, I'll straight away tell, moths life history areas are filled with new records. Whatever life history studies, because there is a huge data gap in that life history studies. So one can publish innumerable papers on host plants alone, life history stages, how they pupate, what is a caterpillar size or caterpillar color. Today many people send me the caterpillar photo and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know which moth comes out of it, because it needs to be read. So life history is a big area where one can find new records. New species is something I feel now. There's Arunachal moth got discovered only because the Taiwan expert told me that this could be a new moth and it is not published in science. So I said, okay, we are all looking for it. And everybody started looking for that moth, and finally somebody found it and it got published. Otherwise, nobody would have come to know. So yes, new species is only where people are completely involved in that field and they know that, okay, this A species looks different from the B species. So let's explore more. So if new species is something one has to really look for, they have to get to that depth or be in a team of people who are doing that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your answers. There are a whole bunch of other questions on the Discord channel, but in the interest of time, we will not be able to take any more questions. So I would request you to please go under your talk and respond to all the
I'll
queries
do that.
and all the compliments that you have got. Thank you so much, Dr. Shubhalaxmi.
Thank
It
you
was
once again.
absolutely wonderful to have you here and give us your plenary talk today. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So announce a bunch of announcements, I guess, for the next session, which is the poster session. We were supposed to have a break for 10 minutes, but we have sort of eaten into that break. So people can actually head on right over to the poster session, which is on in the poster channel on Discord. You can go through the recorded sessions there, and we request all the poster presenters to be available on that channel to respond to any queries that are coming in. After the poster session, we have a break for 1 hour between 12 and 1 p.m. And then we meet again at 1 p.m. For the next plenary session. Thanks, everyone. Varsha and Preeti, are there any other announcements, or we can close the session now?
We can close this session now. I've posted the announcements on the announcement channel.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.